could do it as effectively. So we appreciate you and all of your thought leadership there. And we might be able to talk her into hosting the AI roundtable again today, because I think she's a great wealth of knowledge and information when it comes to that discussion. So yeah, I like our chances. We'll come back to that right before lunch. But we now have the opportunity to bring a great panel discussion forward. And I'd like to ask these three ladies to please come up on stage now. Anna, Julia, and Christina. Perfect. Come, please, take a lovely, comfortable white chair. We welcome you. And they are going to be talking about AI as well. What a shock. A lot of people have wanted to talk about this. Under the context of, in AI we trust, do we? So I look forward to this discussion, this debate, and please help me in joining the ladies, welcoming the ladies to the stage.
I've got mine. The problem is if I know how to open it. They say they...
Oh, they like the... Okay, good. Okay. Thanks for not bailing on us. This is a very big room. Very, very nice to see you all. And God, are these lights bright, aren't they? So if you haven't met Christina and Julia before, the reason why they're here is because they're practitioners. Because Julia is an educator, so she's founded a PR school on top of being a co-founder of the PR Army. And because Christina is on the client side, and we figured in these past days that we hear so very few client stories at AMEC, and it's quite important to try to, particularly when we talk about measurement, but also when we talk about AI, it's important to take our clients on board. Now, I'm not neither their agency nor their client. I work at Quadriga University of Applied Sciences in Berlin. Yes, a very, very long title. It's a university that is specialized in delivering executive MBA programs with a specialism. So I teach grown-ups like yourselves. So come back to school, it's nice, I guarantee you. So a lot of the conversations that we're going to have, they bring us to the common point of trying to keep on learning, but also ensuring that our work environments are safe. And AI, in that sense, is a topic of concern. Now, on an AI topic, I brought this because, you know, we trust AI, right? So I have a few questions. Let me, if I may, give you just a little bit of context. Julia and I met last year at AMEC, and then we've met again in Warsaw, when Julia spoke very, very passionately about how communicators were supporting Ukraine in this information war, and how Julia has been taking a very, very active role in supporting communications on the Ukrainian side. At around that time when we've met, at Quadriga University of Applied Sciences, we were starting to get questions about AI. How can we use this? Can you please do something about this? As if, you know, as a professor, you're going to go to bed tonight and tomorrow you'll know everything. And so we've put together a book inviting practitioners and academics and our students to reflect on their AI. And this is how I've met Christina, because Christina, not only she's a practitioner, she's part of another association in Germany, AG Comtech, where they bring together communicators that are very passionate about the entire digitalization. So it's not only tools, gizmos, they're nice and colorful, but rather ensuring that organizations go on a safe journey through technology and with technology. So then we're here, right? It's AI that brings us together, a concern about safe uses of technology in a sense. And so that's what we're going to talk about. Now, a lot of stuff has happened since last year. Let's start with asking you how this past year has changed when it comes to technology in your experience. I mean, when we've met, GPT was at 3.5, and now we've leapt through, just in terms of GPT, right? We've leapt through 4.0, and all sorts of other things. How has the world changed in terms of technology with you since then?
Yeah, like when talking about advancement and improvements in AI, I would share my experience is that with the PR army, we have become more equipped with the AI researchers, AI-driven researchers, and I would say that AI can be a powerful tool for both, for detecting disinformation that Russia uses widely as its cyber warfare, and to disseminate disinformation. So since then, we've been working with a number of research providers that were born in Ukraine as a response to the aggression as the PR army was. And how we worked, we got notified about some spikes in narratives, in bot creation, and we were even instructed how to process the data that we collect. For example, that we had approach start, stop, continue, and it gave us perspective whether we need to support some narrative or when we see a spread of some disinformational news, how to address it, probably to equip international reporters with fact-checking or provide access to a number of data that would address the problem. On the other hand, we see a great number of cases when AI in the heads of malign actors serve for bad. For example, recently there was a case when 19,000 stories were rewritten with the AI, and it was obvious to track what actually the prompt was. And the prompt was to rewrite real stories and apply a partisan bias. And it was detected. The same, like expanding the scale of AI usage geographically, it turned out that AI chats that were trained with AI provide untruthful and fake information about the coming elections in Europe. So Google needs to apply new policies and change the approach to and restrictions to AI-trained chats. So like probably the conclusion would be that depending on in what hands it is, AI can serve for the good and for the bad. That was my experience. What about yours, Christina?
Yeah, so thinking about the past year, I must say, when I first learned about ChatGPT and got my hands dirty with it, I was so intrigued. So intrigued. I don't know how about this was with you, but I was like, okay, this is so capable, and you could already sense what would be possible in the future. And then I thought, okay, great, we're gonna tackle this head on. I will run a gap analysis with my team, seeing where can we improve our processes, what would be the ideal state, how can we bring in AI to help with that, etc., etc. And then we fell into this trough of disillusionment, really. I had this wonderful idea in my head, how it would theoretically go, and then it really hit reality. And then I had a stage where I was almost paralyzed by all the information that kept flowing in. Also, our really wonderful agency partners and fantastic startups that approached me via LinkedIn promoting their solutions that they had, all great, but it was just, as a practitioner, as a head of communications, I couldn't cope with it anymore. I was really over the top with all this information. Then okay, let's take a break. So we did the same thing. And then I said to my vice president, okay, I want to tackle this topic, but I need to have time for this. So we created a new position. I have a new job now at Schott, really taking care of this topic almost exclusively. I have an intern. That's the reality also. Yeah, you don't have idle capacity lying around, but I have an intern helping me with that. And we're now trying to structure all these ideas that were bubbling up in the organization about AI, etc., and pull this together and bring this into a nice strategy and approach how we're tackling this topic. So this was my past year. And it took me 1 year to get to this point. Okay. It took me 1 year.
Remember that when we edited the book last year, there's another chapter in the book written by Clea Bourne, and she speaks about how vital fear is in creating hype. So she speaks about how communicators tend to be usually tech enthusiasts, and so she's saying, well, we're not very critical there, are we? But also, she's inviting practitioners to reflect on the hype cycles needed to secure funding. And part of this hype cycle means that you need to create the fear of missing out. Now, this brings me to my question about trust. Do you trust AI, or did you go into your explorations because you fear that you're missing out? There's this new shiny new toy, and oh my God, we got to use it or else. How was it with you?
I trust AI. It has helped me so much already in my daily work. I use it for a lot of things. Mostly it helps me to make sense of all the stuff that's going on in my head and to structure that and sort that. There it has been a great help. I'm highly aware of the dangers that are around, that are out there. I think you have a very, very special case, Julia, that you're sharing with us here, so thanks very much for that. But I do trust AI. Okay. I want to speak about the fear of missing out, FOMO, for just a second. What I also see when I talk to other companies in our Comtech initiative, I see a lot of self-inflicted pressure on doing something with AI. And I think to some extent that's an assumption that still needs to be proven. And of all of the wonderful conversations I had here during the past 2 days, that's my first time at AMAC and a wonderful place to be in, I hear a lot of the same. And I would like to ease the pressure a bit. So from my experience, the boardrooms in our organizations, their first thought is not how does our communications department use AI. This will come, it's inevitably going to be there, but I would say we still have another, let's say, 2 years that gives us time to think how do we embrace it, what we want to do with it, etc. But it's not like I don't have my CEO standing in front of me and say, why aren't you restructuring, etc. They are concerned about production, concerned about sales, then R&D, etc., then nothing, then marketing, and then nothing, and then PR, yeah, which is a good and a bad thing at the same time. But I think we're in a place where we can just embrace it, play around with it, sort things out, and then be ready when they come to us and ask.
Okay. Julia, do you trust
Yeah,
AI?
talking about trust, during the event we heard so much the word context. So it depends. But I had experience when it lied to me twice. So ever since I double check every time I use AI. I mean, like for my personal needs, I do some fact checking, additional research, whether it was lying this time to me or it was correct.
Okay. The reason I ask about trust is because when we talk about measurement, and we've had these conversations already, and Jim, you're here, you're still here, right? We seem to mix two constructs, trust and trustworthiness. And trust is something that is given, trustworthiness is something that you can control, at least that's how I can see it, right? And trustworthiness has to do with context, with skill, and reliability, right? And as a system, as an individual, those are things that you can deliver, right? The others will decide whether this trust is given to you or not. Now, we also deal with different levels of trust. Luhmann, bless Germans, Austrians, whatever, whoever is in that context. Luhmann was talking about trust and systems, and there are different levels of trust. So we can talk about interpersonal trust. We can talk about systemic trust. So that is institutions, AI as a system is going to go in there. But we also have predispositional trust. That is culturally dependent, and part of it is neuronal. We're not going on that path because it's very scary. But let's talk about, if we think of AI systems in this case, right? It's technologies that we can trust. It's like institutions that we trust. What do you think you need, either to know, to trust it, or as a communicator, what do you think that you need to know and do so that you are trusted using it, right? So that we don't go, again, the reason I'm asking this question is because we assume very often that communicators only do the right things that we like. It's very nice, right? But we've also been speaking for so long about communications being values-based. So Julia, while I appreciate you being here, that doesn't mean that somewhere in Russia, somewhere that is comms and believes in the Russian cause, is talking very passionately about what they can do, to stifle the Ukrainian cause. So what is it that we can do? What is it that communicators can do so that we can trust these systems?
What a difficult question.
Yeah, I'm not known for easy.
I think it's always a matter of broader context, and I think that we need to level up this discussion to the questions of regulations. So what the regulations are on certain territories, countries, whatever, and talking about our case, who are experiencing the consequences of hybrid warfare, even caused by AI on a daily basis, I think that it's also a matter of some punishment and regulating and observing the consequences that AI can use. In my case, I know that Russia bears zero responsibility, accountability for being a source of disinformation, as well as China, Iran. And I guess that understanding that there is some systematical solution and systematical supervision of those cases might be giving me additional reasons to trust it on a system level, as a technology. I guess for this time, it will be my take.
Okay.
Yeah, I would like to answer this question a little bit differently. We ran a focus group study among the members of AG Comtech, and it wasn't exactly about this trust question, but it fits quite nicely. And there were several themes and topics that came up constantly during the discussion. And the first one was employee readiness. So how can we improve the knowledge within our teams, speaking as a head of communications now, to what systems are out there, what are the pitfalls, but how can it also help you become better? And I firmly believe that AI, in the first place, it makes you better at something you're already good at. So I keep repeating this sentence because I think that's a very good take for me of all those systems that are out there. So in the first place, choose something that you're already good at and see how an AI can enhance you there. So employee readiness. The second one was a culture of learning and sharing. So you need this culture, also failure culture within your team. And we're getting better at it, but I must say, even at Schott, we're a German company, we're very precise, very punctual, etc. So failure is something that's not so much part of our DNA. It's something that we have to learn. So cultural development is very important. Thirdly, data security and IT security. So we're not, well, I like AI tools and I would love to embrace them, but I need an IT department that helps me with that, And historically, PR and IT have not been very close, if I look like 15 years back or something. So that's a new coalition that we have to build inside the organizations. And then the fourth point, which I found most intriguing, is the double role of communication when it comes to digital transformation. And I found this so interesting because we as communicators in the organization are supposed to help all our employees make sense of what is happening there. Like, am I going to lose my job, etc., etc. However, we are mostly not the first ones that are part of this digitalization journey. So very rarely the IT department knocks at the PR door and says, yeah, we would like to digitalize you, please be our first mover within it. No, it's not happening. So we are speaking about something, and we need to communicate something that we're just about to understand. Yeah? And all of this together, I think, if we can work on those 4 topics, that will help us increase trust.
Okay. But you've managed that, right? As far as I remember, you're allowed, unlike the companies, some of them who spoke with Maya earlier, you are allowed to use AI at work.
Yes, that's true. So our IT department was very modern, it took a very modern approach, but I wouldn't say it's the rule. So my experience, personal experience, is the higher regulated the industry, the more rigid the rules are. So pharma, financials, etc. Yeah.
Okay. I'm aware of our time. Are there any questions, comments, suggestions, desire, wishes in the room? The advantage of having these 2 wonderful ladies on the stage is so that you can address their questions. Now, I know there's LinkedIn, but it would be nice to hear from you as well. Yay, nay? Oh, I'm sorry, this is the pre-lunch session. Everybody thought that they'll be quiet, mopping on their phones, chatting to their pets at home. Maya has a question. There you go. I'm going to go abandon you on stage. Oh, thank you, thank you.
The only reason to run is because someone's chasing you with a knife.
That's a solid reason to run. What is your take, especially you, Julia? What do you think is the minimum literacy requirement for the general audiences to be able to evaluate how and when to trust AI and how it may affect public discourses?
Short answer, I wish I knew. A long answer is, unfortunately, even very well-educated people like reporters who cover politics are still subject to disinformation. And we see that from the incoming requests. Russia, sorry to refer to the enemy all the time, but this is the reality, yeah? So they were exemplary good at disseminating disinformation years ago before the invasion. And they performed really well, claiming that Ukraine has a lot of cases and with Nazi propaganda, calling everybody Nazi in Ukraine. And they succeeded in it. We have a lot of incoming requests from reporters, well-educated people who ask, what's your take about Nazi propaganda in Ukraine? But in fact, Ukraine has much lower percentage of those extreme far-right movements. So I guess the best way to address the situation is to provide access to researchers' data, any fact-checking tool that might be of use. But in general terms, of course, it's a matter of educating media literacy, critical thinking, and the first step to addressing those issues is awareness, spread the information that fake news circulate, that social media can be a source of some propaganda or disinformation, misinformation. Mark the media that are disseminating false narratives and false fake news. Ask your relatives, parents, show you their computers and their laptops and their phones, what they consume, in what way. And of course, I guess that this is a challenge of communicators of all the countries, on all the levels, in all the roles, is to address and educate and put it on their agenda, that media literacy component, even if you sell burgers. Sorry, I don't want to somehow let the colleagues from McDonald's down. Yeah, but even if you do, please spread the news about the disastrous time we can face, if not to address it in time.
All right. Then one final question before goodbyes. You speak a lot about media literacies, and here we've heard quite a lot about media literacies at population level. how do you get there as a communicator in order to be able to educate others? What do you do to get into that position of comfort and trust when it comes to these new systems coming up, so that you can help others in the process?
You mean as a professional or as just a reader, customer, consumer of news?
Well, you're both, right? You're both the consumer of news as well as somebody who's working in this cycle. So how do you prepare yourself to know these differences, to amp your signals, if you want, so that you don't get duped when information comes to you?
Yeah, like it's very human to err, yeah, and sometimes probably I can be in that trap as well, but I always double check the source, I always double check the author, and luckily we all have Google or even AI-driven engines like Perplexity, yeah, so we all may do some even basic fact check and reputation check, and of course it needs to sometimes I even may address the AI-driven analytics, whether there was some narratives detected. Probably like the funniest case I was witnessing is that EU added like 2 more insects on the list of insects available for sustainable farming, for feeding animals. And Russia used it as an excuse, saying that Europe will feed everybody with bugs and worms because they obviously are starving because they don't buy gas from Russia anymore. And sometimes even this absurdity may take place. And of course, I see if there is a spike in some, I don't know, I log in on X platform, X Twitter, yeah, and I see that there is a spikes of some narratives from multiple accounts. I open Instagram, it's the same, and then I go on Facebook and it just follows me there. So it may look suspicious, so I double check like what can be behind it, like what they are trying to achieve. And always check. I'm a bit paranoid these days, okay. Yeah, but that helps.
Christina, in 10 seconds, because we're out of time.
Accept that you can't. You can't always stay up to date, and accept that you will fail at some point, and it's okay. Just get up and try again.
Okay, well, on that note, thank you so very much for your attention.
Thank you.
And thanks for joining us.
Ladies, thank you so much. It's those conversations when you're in the room and you see everybody leaning in are so powerful, and I just want to thank you for bringing that to the stage and letting us all listen in. It's really appreciated.